If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There, you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. This is your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by both of the boys, Kyle and Matt, and this feels like the first time we've recorded together in a while. Am I wrong? It might have been Resident Evil. Pragmata might have been that.
Yeah, Pragmata, I think.
Oh, either way, today we're talking about 007 First Light. And I think that we all agree that this is a really, really good game. I think we all liked it. I'm interested to see where it ranks for y'all in terms of what we've played so far this year. I have an idea of where it ranks for me. I think it's a really good game, but I do think it falls slightly beneath some of the others we've played. But we'll go ahead and get right in. Kyle, I know one thing that stuck out to both of us was the fact that it didn't just feel like a Hitman clone. It felt like a game that was very distinct from that. It didn't exactly have the open nature of Hitman, but it also wasn't just completely linear, and I feel like that worked out in its favor.
It absolutely did, because, these devs have made 3 big Hitman games that were very, I think, influential in terms of sandbox gaming, and I like that kind of game, but like you said, I don't think we or anyone really wanted this game to be a big sandbox game. It's James Bond. We wanted a damn good story. And I think they 100% delivered on that, and not just the story, but the cinematics as well were incredible. This game, it took a little bit to grow on me. I think it had a little bit of a slow start, but once you get going and you get into the little bit more linear levels, it picks up so fast.
Yeah, I did think that was a very, very fair complaint whenever people were talking about it gets off to a very, very slow start, and a lot of it is that training montage. Because I think we all agree that was extreme how long that went on for. I don't think that should have gone on nearly as long as it did. Once this game lets you go and it puts you in actual missions, I think that this game's mission and level design is really, really good. I loved the very first mission with the nightclub. I loved that. I thought that was awesome. There's the banquet mission that you have later in the game after a few things have transpired. I don't want to get into spoilers too heavily. But when the game opens up and it stops holding your hand a little bit, I feel like that's where it really allows itself to thrive. Matt, what did you think about the gameplay as a whole? Did you think that the linear nature of it mixed with a little bit of it being open, do you think that mixed pretty well?
Yeah, actually, so there was a comparison I thought about while I was playing through this game. So one of the first big standout missions for me is when you're in the hotel at the auction. I feel like that this is the game's strongest suit is where, because this is from the developers of Hitman, it felt like that in a sense where you are in this big area. There's a lot of NPCs on screen, um, and you are kind of playing in a stealthy way because there are areas where you're not allowed to go to, just like in Hitman. You're not allowed to go into like where security is tight, and you have to figure out where on the map you can go, like other means of getting to these locations to find these items you're looking for, whether it's like a key card to open up a door. Um, and I feel like that's where this game's strengths really came out from. Like these are the missions I enjoyed the most. I didn't really like the ones where it was almost completely stealth. And if you're caught, then it's just like this big blowout with shooting and in the combat, which we'll get to in a little bit. It kind of it felt like Watch Dogs, where you had to use your phone, your watch, your device, and hack different items to distract other, like security guards or enemies. Which I thought was really cool. Like there was that level where you're basically on this like wrecked ship,
Yes.
and you go around. They have like a bunch of enemies in different spots. And what I like is that the enemies are set up in ways that really help you utilize the different items and the gear that you have. Like you can distract them to go in front of a TV, and then you can use that, and then you can overcharge that TV and electrocute them, or you can drop crates on them. Did that not feel like Watch Dogs to you?
No, I see the comparison. I think it's a fair comparison. I actually didn't really think about that until you mentioned it, but I do think that is very apt. It did give me that same feeling of being able to control and manipulate things in the environment to use it to your advantage. I actually think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, was just really glad that we finally got a really good GoldenEye, that we got a really good James Bond game since GoldenEye, because there have been some releases here and there, but they've been really like not good games. So I'm really happy that they finally decided to actually make a James Bond game that made you feel like James Bond. Like the story was really great, and I like the characters in this game, like Moneypenny, and them. I like the QLED area. Like there was, it actually when I finished reading this game, I almost had that like, I want to go watch some James Bond movies now.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I felt very similar, and the James Bond movies have never really landed with me. Like them, Mission Impossible, those movies have never really been all that for me.
Same.
But Kyle, you think back to when we described it, we felt like we were playing an extended James Bond movie. And I felt like that's a very apt way to describe it. It's a very early on James Bond movie when he's a lot younger. And I feel like, Kyle, that story worked really, really well when you consider this is a James Bond that is becoming 007. He's not already been 007 for several decades.
Yeah, I don't really like a lot of origin stories for characters that are very well known, but maybe like you said, it's just that I haven't really been into the Bond movies. So this was kind of my first real experience with James Bond outside of a lot of the classic moments that like everybody's seen from the movies. So I think that if there's a lot of other people who bought this game that are in the younger audience that are like me, this was a perfect way to introduce James Bond to people, and an origin story was 100% the way to go. They knocked it out of the park way more than I thought. I was a little bit nervous after they released Mind's Eye. That game was not great, and this game performed way better. There was some bugs, but I never ran into anything game breaking. I don't know if you guys did, but my game never crashed. The biggest problem I did have, though, the fucking online.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
At all.
That should make no sense.
Quite understand that at all. I thought like, and if you had that happen to you a handful of times, I think it happened to all three of us.
It did.
Where you have a big story moment and everything's good, the momentum of the game is really picking up, and then you get hit with a random screen of, oh, you were disconnected from the servers. Kyle, can you still hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Give me a quick where that was. My mom just called and it cut our audio off.
It's right at 8 minutes.
8 minutes, got it. Just keep rolling from. I'll start from where my point was.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a very odd setup for it to be a single player game. You know, you're in these big cutscenes, you're in these big action moments, and where you get hit with a screen of, oh, you were disconnected from the servers. I would love to know why that was a design choice. I would love to know the thought process behind that design choice. Because it's a single-player game. I don't really understand why we need to be connected to the servers. And, Kyle, if you remember, it says early on in the game, right before you start, that the best experience is connected to the servers. I didn't quite get that.
What did the experience change when I was and wasn't connected to the servers? It made no sense. It's even in the tax sim, like in the entire story, there was literally no reason to make you be online, and I feel like there was, because what I would do a lot of times is I would play a mission or two, and then I just put my PS5 in rest mode. So I wouldn't start the game up fresh from a shutdown. And the worst part was I would pick up right where I was left off. I would start playing, and then 5 minutes in, every single time, because I guess it had been trying to connect to the servers ever since I started my PlayStation back up, it would disconnect. And I could be in the middle of anything. I could be in the middle of combat. I could be in the middle of a cutscene. it was very immersion breaking, and I really, really wish there was some way to fix that without just. I don't know, like, if I set it to offline, does that really change anything? I mean, I guess
I don't feel like it would.
I guess I could have done that, and that would save me a world of bitching about it. But I shouldn't have to do that. That's stupid. Why? It's a single player game. I really don't want them to do this in the next one, because they're clearly setting this up to be a series of games. Please don't do that, because it's very, very annoying to start up the game where I left off, and I'm in a big cutscene, or I'm in a big action sequence, and oh, you disconnected from the server. Ruins it.
Yeah, going after to that car chase scene, and then I got that disconnection from the server issue, and that was like the first time that, like, because I was really immersed, like I was really enjoying it, and when that happened, it was just like, yeah, I'm playing a video game.
Yeah, it does take you out of that immersion, and that is the biggest issue there. And I hate to say it, I think that's my biggest issue with the game. I think the game is really good, but I do question the design choice to have an online server for a game that is single player with not a hint of multiplayer. If there was a multiplayer mode or multiplayer elements to it, I could understand it. I could make sense of it. I can't make sense of it as it is now. That's just bizarre to me. I didn't feel the combat was the smoothest either. I felt like the combat was solid, but I do want to say, since I've had some time away from the game, I very much have maybe chalked that up to maybe that's the game saying that the combat is not something that they're emphasizing. And we can go into whether or not that was a good decision. But I do think this is a game that emphasizes the stealth aspect way more than it does getting into the third person cover shooting. And I think that that is something, Matt, that again, you can have the decision or the conversation of, was that the right thing to focus on? But if the game is going to emphasize stealth, I do kind of understand why the combat was maybe a little more lackluster.
Yeah, I actually deliberately try to avoid combat as best I can. Also, why is it when these guys are punching you, it sounds like you're being punched by the Incredible Hulk? Like, why do they put a single punch?
You know, I said this as well. This is what frustrated me, and Kyle heard this happen a couple of times. I got into combat, and these dudes just kept grabbing me.
Yeah, the grabbing was really annoying.
Like, that drove me up a wall at a certain point. Now, at a certain point, you could also say that's a skill issue, and I need to just dodge the grab.
Yeah.
But it got frustrating after I'm like, y'all, will you please stop grabbing me? I'm trying to punch you. Please stop.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I do feel like the combat is good.
Yeah.
I think that that's solid. I think it's the gunplay that for me was a little bit weaker.
Yeah, the gunplay was not my favorite, especially, I mean, when we're comparing this game to some of, like, games where I feel like it's inspiration from, like, something like Uncharted, something like Gears of War, which is very well known for its cover shooter system. This game kind of had a cover shooter, but it was, like, not the best. Plus, some of the enemy AI was pretty bad. Like, you alert one person, all of a sudden everybody's alerted, and then they're all on your ass. Like, that was frustrating, especially in these more enclosed places, like when you're down in the wine cellar in the basement. Like, there's that. Now, I want to talk about the stealth, because I feel like that this is where a lot of the strengths come from.
Yes.
Because the gear that you get in this game is so cool. And you actually feel like a spy. Like, you have a flash that, like, will blind enemies. You have, like, a dart thing that will make them nauseated. Like, there's some really cool stuff here that really makes you feel like you are James Bond.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of this game is when you are infiltrating the Q lab. While, you know, everything at the headquarters has gone. Ari, like, you know, everyone's gone. And when you're in the Q lab and you have, like, all the enemies down there in the lab, and then, like, you're given at your disposal, given all your gear. And you can just activate all these random things like auto turrets. You can distract them with teddy bears. You can blow up these cars with them near them. I love that.
You know, the more that you talk about it, the more I think you might have been spot on with the Watch Dogs compared.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is really, really accurate looking back on it. And it even gets like the cheesy parts of it as well.
Yeah.
Like Kyle, when I was watching you play it, and Q just randomly disappears into the couch.
I love that moment. That was so funny.
Like, it's one of those things like that. It's moments like that where I'm like, this is James Bond. I like this, like having escape hatches everywhere, being able to use different gadgets. I loved that. Now, I did want to ask both of you, and Kyle, you could probably tell me more about this. And I know that we all game share with somebody, so we're not paying full price. What did y'all both think? Kyle, you go first. What did y'all think about the length of the game? I thought that the length was very respectable. I think my playthrough clocked in at like 18 hours. I thought the length was very respectable. Kyle, what did you think?
I also thought that, and was kind of reminisced about the Spider-Man 2 debate where
Yes.
people were saying, oh, it was 20 hours and I paid $70 for the game. Okay, well, here's the thing is some people, like, don't have 80 hours to put into a game. Some people only have a short amount of time, especially with all of the games coming out. I don't think that every game needs to be a forever game. Some games, it's okay to play them once or twice and then put them down. It was a good experience. I had fun with it. I don't think I'll replay James Bond, but I will play the next one. I really enjoyed the game, and I have no problem paying $70 for the experience that I got, because they have a lot more content in there that I could go and experience with the tax sim. I'm sure there will be DLC. I think it's worth the money even if it's just the 20-hour story like Spider-Man was, because you got a great game. If the game sucked, I'd be like, this was $70, really? But the game was really damn good. I honestly had no problem with it.
That's kind of where I was going. Is I feel like this whole debate of is a game long enough to be considered worth it for 70. I feel like that debate is so tired at this point, because to me, if I spend 8 to 10 hours in a game, but it's 8 to 10 hours of like high quality, a great story, great gameplay, great world building, I think I'm okay with spending $70 on that. I think I'm cool with that. And the fact of the matter is, this is a game that, again, just from my personal, I think we all three spent similar amounts of time on the story. 15 to 20 hour story is pretty worth it for $70, especially if it's a high quality story like I feel like this one was. Matt, what did you think about that?
I mean, I compare it to something like the length of the Uncharted games. Like, I feel like that the length of the game, like, it told its story really well. I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. I didn't feel like there was any kind of moment where, it felt like it was filler. Like, every mission had a very significant point to push the story forward. Like, one of my favorite moments is when you're down in those mines and you take over the giant machine. This is where I actually have a complaint. I love this moment, but it is so short-lived. Like, I think it only lasted, like, the first part of it was, like, 5 minutes, and it shuts down, and you have to take out enemies, reactivate the machine, and then right after you activate it, it's, like, 2 minutes, and it's a cutscene, and then it's over.
I thought that issue I had with that section was it felt a little too on the rails.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like you have to go down a very, very specific path.
Yeah.
And you can't really deviate from that. You can't go outside of that. It's still a great moment. It's still a moment I enjoy, but it did feel like there wasn't enough freedom given there. I would have liked a little bit of freedom there.
Have to. I mean, it's mines. They could have absolutely made it like branching paths, but it was just really fun because it was really destructive, and you're destroying all this like scaffolding and enemies, blowing them up. It was a lot of fun. Like,
the other thing I wanted to ask you both about was there was a lot of discourse specifically around the fact that people felt like this didn't feel like James Bond, and they were saying, and I know he gave me a look, and nobody will ever see the look he just gave me. That's the look I had every time I saw a tweet about it. Trust me. But it was the idea that, oh, he's taking all these orders and he's not really going out and making decisions for himself. And I don't know, Kyle, what did you think? Because I felt like for a young James Bond, I feel like in terms of building the character, I thought they did a good job, and I didn't really have an issue with that.
Yeah, I really liked Patrick Gibson's personality in this game. He was very much like from the very beginning. I'm not MI6. Authority has a problem with me. Like, dude, he had the quips. He had, the voice acting was great. I thought that, his performance in this whole game was a young James Bond to me. And in the next game, I'm excited to see how he's evolved this character. Because the next game is where he's supposed to be the big badass, but he was still even badass in this game. Sure, he got his ass kicked a few times, and, he was a little bit all over the place, not knowing what to do, but that's exactly how you said this is how a young James Bond should be. I liked it.
Said it really if he came out of the gate like that.
I felt like, just based off of what I have seen, was it's in a bar. You talk to that girl, her boyfriend shows up, you beat his ass, and then she's like, "Hey, meet me on this time. Let's go back to my place." He's the charmer. That's James Bond. He hooks up with a girl every movie, and they kept that with him. And he's younger. He's not, but he's still James Bond.
Well, and I think to the whole authority thing, we see that grow over the course of this game. I feel like we do see him following orders early on, but then he goes rogue at some point late in the story. He pretty much, when the entirety of MI6 falls, he goes out on his own. He's a rogue agent at that point. I do feel like we see that. And I feel like, again, I thought that was a weird complaint.
Actually shows signs of that during the hotel mission. Remember, you're just the chauffeur. You're not supposed to go inside. He notices something's off, so he infiltrates. He goes inside the hotel. He breaks his mission, his part in the mission, and it ends up working out.
100%. I think that worked. Kyle, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially, and spoiler alert, after Greenway's death, that's what really set him into that. All right, it's me or nothing, and. Boy, I am so excited to see, like I said, I'm so excited to see him in the next game, because that's that character development that, I like to see. And fuck, dude, Greenway's death was hard. That shit hit. And I felt like we weren't really supposed to like him in the beginning, which, I don't know, I kind of did, because, I get it, James Bond came in out of nowhere, he's joining training, weeks late, and then he fucking destroys the whole place. But, man, you really grow to like Greenway, and when he fucking dies, that shit sucks, dude. Such a good way, but,
Yeah, I thought all of that worked. All of it worked, and it did exactly what they wanted it to do, and I think that people that are complaining about the way James Bond was portrayed and, not caring about the origin or... we just want to play as a badass spy. You still got to do that while also seeing a good origin story. I thought that complaint was very odd. Go ahead, Matt.
I think what I wanted to add is on the mention of Greenway is I think that he had my favorite development in this game, because he has been an agent with MI6 for so long, and then it all turns out that this AI system that they have been using to track people who are
threats. People who are threats.
People who were threats were getting the people wrong. And there was this one, this was Greenway's, his big reveal moment, where one of those was something that directly really affected him. And to find out that he killed innocent people took a huge toll on him. And, he went away for a while before coming back eventually. I think that, like I said, Greenway, outside of James Bond, is my favorite character in this game.
Well, I think that's what I was going to say to add on for me, what I really enjoyed about this game was the portrayal of something like MI6. This, to me, is the closest portrayal to anything that MI6 is in real life, because all MI6 is just the British version of the CIA.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just the British version of that, and we all know that the CIA, while they do a lot to protect the country, they also do a lot of things that are very shady, and I feel like this depicted MI6 very accurately of, hey, they may do a lot to protect the country. Not all of it is stuff that you would strictly consider objectively good. It's stuff that they do that's pretty shady, and I thought this game depicted that really well. I think that, to wrap all this up, I think this is a high-quality game, and to get a good James Bond game in 2026 is good, because like Kyle has said multiple times, and I'll let you round us out, Kyle, I'm interested to see where we go from here. I want to know what's next. I want to see more of this world. I want to see more of these characters. And I think that IO Interactive should be really commended for the game they put together here.
Yes, this is a recovery from Mind's Eye. We can forget Mind's Eye happened, actually. I forgive you, because from the intro of this game to the credits, I mean, we've said it multiple times, I felt like I was just watching... sometimes I forgot I was playing a video game, because the cutscenes looked so good. The cinematics were incredible. The director of this game specifically deserves flowers, because, wow, I think the music, the score was perfectly timed. This was one of, I think, the best games to come out this year. In terms of where it ranks on my list, I'm not sure. It's kind of... It's going to be in my top 5 probably, but probably going to be in the lower part of 5.
It's certainly tough because we've had a lot of great games come out. I still to this day think about Requiem. I still think about Pragmata, and I still think about games like that. Like even a game like Neo 3 that came out earlier this year was really damn good as well. Obviously, we've had some great games come out. Matt, what about you? Where do you come down on all this?
So my placement for First Light is, I think that this is a great new way to introduce James Bond to gamers. Because, like I said, there has not been a really good James Bond game since GoldenEye back on the N64. There have been games that have come out, but they have been bad. So I think that this is a great way to bring James Bond back into the gaming world, because this was a great step, and I'm very interested in a sequel. I do hope that they are more experimentative with the next one, because I felt like this one was kind of a by the numbers kind of game. Like, good story, but everything just felt like, a retread on something other games have done. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I played it all the way through. I liked the chemistry with a lot of the cast. I thought Isola was a fantastic, double agent type of character. Who can you trust her? Can you not trust her? And I mean, by the end of the game, you realize you can trust her, but you still can't trust her because she still works for this other government, who are trying to get this AI system from MI6 because they know that it's basically, it has its flaws. It's not perfect. But her saving James Bond when she had to make that choice, and she rescued him because she has a like for him, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't think this is the last that we're going to see of her character at all. I think we're going to see her more, I think, in their next game, and I'm excited to see what IO does with their next James Bond game, because 007 First Light, really damn good game. I think I'd give it a 9, and I'd feel really, really good about that. I think that there's a lot to love about this game, and I think the good part is there's a lot of really good criticisms that they can build on in a sequel, and that's what I'm most intrigued to see, is how do they improve upon this next? And I think they're going to do a good job with that. So that is going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can check us out on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, for Matt, for Kyle, I'm Rusty, thanks for listening.